Greetings everyone and welcome back to RPGenesis, where characters are more than numbers. What if I told you that out there, in the world, there is a TTRPG which highly encourages creativity and input from not just the GM, but the players as well? Well, that's what today's RPG we're going to be looking at does, and that is Mutant Year Zero. Some of you may recognise the title from the video game, but before it was a video game, it was a TTRPG. Mutant Year Zero takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth where the apocalypse happened so long ago that no one remembers exactly what the event was. All you do know is that you are now trying to survive in the aftermath, a twisted and dark parody of the world we once knew, which is now full of mutants, monsters, and danger everywhere. Your character will be a member of a community known as the Ark, which will adventure into the world on various missions, ranging from gathering supplies, eliminating threats, scouting areas, exploring new areas, and much more. If you stick to the lore of Mutant Year Zero, then your ultimate goal is to discover what Eden is and if it's the key to bring the world back to a better place. Now, looking at this RPG, we are going to be breaking tradition a little bit. Normally, we would look at how you make a character and focus nothing on world building. However, in this one, the world building is an essential part of the creation process to run a game. So instead of starting with the characters, we're going to start by creating what's known as the Ark. And I'm going to show you how we created ours so you can follow along at home. For this one, I don't think you would need to watch episodes 0A and 0B to understand the terminology, but I would advise you do anyway, just so that you can get a little bit of a better understanding when it comes to creating the Ark as to why we've made some of the decisions we have. In this video, we're going to be following it step by step as it is in the book, but like before, and just like anything else, you're free to take these steps in any order you wish. And ultimately, the most important thing that you must remember is that this Ark is designed as a group, not just the GM. Okay? So let's get into it, shall we? So first up, at step 1 is zone location. Your apocalyptic adventures can take place anywhere on Earth that you desire. But in-game, the environment you will travel is referred to as the Zone, which is where your Ark resides. You can make this a fictional place, or, like in the case of myself and Akka, a real place, as we're going to be basing our zone in my hometown of Blackpool. If, however, you are struggling to decide on a location, you can use one of the two pre-made locations in the book, the Dead Apple, which is set in New York, or the Big Smoke in what was once London. Once you have your location decided, you then need to decide what kind of environment it is. Is it flat plains, a hilly landscape, a concrete jungle? Is it dry? Is it wet? Is it inland? Is it on the coast? What landmarks are nearby? These are all things you need to consider and discuss as a group. Whatever you decide, you then need to move on to step 2, the zone map. I highly advise using a grid map to plan out the zone, and Modiphius? You know, I've never actually known how to say that name. Modiphius provide a free one on their website. In-game, this map is based on the reports of scouts and any scavenged maps. Every square, also known as a sector, is roughly 1 mile wide. The entire map should show at least a 20-mile radius. You might think it's small, but to quote the book, remember that the zone is a labyrinthian landscape. Often covered in smog, movement in the zone is slow. At the beginning of the game, your map is going to be mostly blank. Maybe you'll have some bodies of water on there, 1 or 2 locations that you've been able to scout out, and of course, your own Ark. And then as you play, more of these are going to be revealed, but not every location you find is going to be welcoming. Where these locations will be down to a mixture of the GM and the players. In the case of our map, we're going to assume that we've been playing this game for a while and we have a fuller map. To make things interesting, we've decided to have several Arks in our area, each having a monopoly of some kind of resource, resulting in a fragile alliance between the Arks. As for landmarks, we've made a total of 10 to put on the map. First up is the Grin. This is the remnants of the Coral Island arcade. It's full of electronics ready to be scavenged and reused. This is what our Ark has got the monopoly in. Next is the Shark Tank, based on the Sea Life Centre. The Shark Tank is home to a smaller and younger Ark made up of capable fishermen, and they have the monopoly on fresh food. And then close to the fish tank is Madam's. which is the ruins of Madame Tussauds. Madame's is home to a pack of rat mutants. They are unaligned with any of the local arcs and are often caught stealing or foraging from other arcs. However, they have a monopoly on a lot of history relating to the old world. The pond is the ruins of the Sand Castle. No one lives there, but treasures and scrap are still to be found there. The Golden Judge you could describe as a common ground, which was once the Pleasure Beach, but now serves as a court, shared between arcs to judge those who put the Fragile Alliance at risk. Next up are two landmarks named the Iron Serpent Trails. In-game, these train tracks aren't connected, but our characters wouldn't know that, and it's used as a breadcrumb trail to navigate to the coast from the southeast. The name for this one, I am going to hold my hands up and admit that I stole this from the game. The Hound Grounds is one of the deadliest areas in the Rotten Mile. The Hounds Hill Shopping Centre has now become a ruin full of carnivorous wolf-like creatures. Most of the ruin is yet to be explored or scavenged, but that's because most don't come back out alive. The ninth landmark is the Winter Garden. In the old world, it was a grand building of entertainment. Now it's home to an arc who have converted it into a weapons factory, thus holding the monopoly on weaponry. And then the 10th landmark is our arc, and that takes us to step 3, the type of arc. All you've simply got to do is describe what your art looks like. The book does list a number of options, but the true limit is your own creativity. Whatever it is you decide, it's purely for cosmetic purposes. There are no benefits or flaws to the shape or look of the arc, however the positioning of your arc may incur some of those, but we're going to be looking at that in just a second. Our arc is the 10th landmark on the map and is called the Spire, which is the remnants of the famous Blackpool Tower. Step 4, in our case at the very least, is easy, but possibly not for you. The arc's position has a bigger impact on the game than step 3 by a mile. The book advises that you don't put your arc on the very edge of the zone or in the middle. Don't put it in the middle because that is likely where the rot is going to be, but it doesn't say why along the edge is a bad idea. Now I can tell you from experience that I have had some players put their arc on the edge of the map, and while it seems okay to do in some situations, it did take them forever to reach certain locations on the map, and each sector means that you need to use rations and water to travel it, which means that they were burning through very scarce resources early in the campaign. What the game describes as totally necessary for your arc's location is near a body of water so your arc can have a reliable source of it. With Blackpool being a seaside town, finding water is not nearly going to be an issue. So now that we've established what the arc is and what the zone looks like, what about the arc itself? How does that work? Well, step 5 is where you start to develop the arc more as you begin to map out the arc itself. You can make the map as rough or neat as you like as long as you can understand it. And it's not necessary to make a map of the arc, but we wanted to just to add a bit more life to the world, ironic as that may sound. In our case, we've given the tower a makeover and constructed platforms along the outside of it to serve as floors. If you make a map for this, you need to mark where your characters live and any locations that will be in the arc which acts as a way for players to roleplay or buy supplies for the next mission. And if you want to get real fancy, maybe some of these locations can be of importance to the plot or character backstories. Maybe one of the player characters has a trusted arms dealer to go to when they're in the market for weaponry, so they go and visit Dirty Nick's. Maybe one of the players has a love interest who works in a brothel called Dolly's. Or maybe one day the arc is on the brink of a civil war because supplies are being stolen from 2 different gang headquarters. Make it however you see fit, just make it fun and interesting. And as you are establishing the lore and layout of your arc, you might accidentally find that you complete steps 6, 7 and 10 at the same time. 6 is to decide where the Elder and the Dawn Vault is. For us, that's easy. At the very top of the tower where it's safest. The Elder being the only connection you have to the old world, and the Dawn Vault where you keep artifacts from the old world. Step 7 is where you decide who the bosses are. The term boss refers to NPCs who are influential members in the arc. What makes them influential is up to your group, but some examples in the book are the Despot, a power-hungry and violent person who gets others to do their dirty work. The Agitator, an individual who uses fiery speeches to raise morale and hopes of the population. Or the Hard Worker, someone who leads by example and wants to work towards building a new future rather than find the secrets of the past. For us, we established 2 gang bosses, a weaponsmith, Dirty Nick, and a woman named Loanna, the leader of a cult called the Sacred Seed who seeks to overthrow the Elder's rule. One of the classes in the book that the players can use is the boss, and if a player is going to be said class, then they need to discuss with the GM what they are the boss of and how much of an influence it has within the arc itself, which can lead to some very interesting storylines within the arc as well as outside. Then to quickly deal with step 10, determine the water source. We can say that the shanty town at the base of the tower has a man-made still river connected to the sea that flows through it. But other examples you could use are a rain collector, a well, or even a small, just functional purification machine. Now that I've done a bit of kangarooing between the steps, let's get back into order, shall we? And let's head back to step 8. It's time to add NPCs of importance. Primarily, these will be the NPCs players have placed on their character sheets, but will also include other NPCs that the GM wants to add and make note of, where it's a good idea to ask yourself very simple questions as to what these NPCs do. What do these NPCs want to achieve? Are they trustworthy? In what way can they help out? Some do cook food, one's a bar owner, one's a doctor, etc, etc. Part 9 is a potentially scary part of the arc, determining the size of the arc's population. Keeping it near 200, the population is what keeps the arc alive, but this number is more likely to go down than it is up. You will have an arc sheet, and this is where you keep track of the population. The ways that you can increase the population are few and slow. Now, canonically, mutants can't bear children, so you're going to have to find a way to counter the ever-dropping population. You could purchase slaves, you could take prisoners, you could even just form alliances with travellers and invite people in. There's lots of ways to do it, but like everything else, there's always risks. But when it comes to losing members, that is much easier. At the end of every session, a minimum of 1d6 of the Ark's citizens will die, on top of any that may have been killed during the plot and by the players themselves. And if your population gets too low, then the Ark cannot sustain itself, and after that, you're most likely next. So what can you do to counter it? Is there anything at all? Well, yes there is actually, and that's in step 11, the development levels. At the beginning of each session, the Elder holds an assembly where the players get to decide what project the people of the Ark should be working on. The players are given 12 development points to divide or invest into 4 different categories, however they see fit. Each category tells you what bonuses or hindrances your Ark receives, depending on its total points. Food supply determines how hungry the people are and how much grub you can buy for a bullet. This one will also be the biggest factor in reducing how many people die at the end of every session. Culture affects the residents to express themselves through art mediums and other forms of cultural production. Technology determines both how well the players and the members of the Ark understand the artifacts and their capability of creating new technology. And warfare is the Ark's ability to defend itself from threats both in and outside of the Ark. Each of these projects improve the Ark in some fashion, but not all of them are available from the beginning, and some of them will need prerequisites met before they can be worked on. Projects like the Cropland, which increase the Ark's food supply by 3d6, requires no specific development level, but a school that increases the Ark's tech and culture by 1d6 requires that you have 20 points in culture first. But whatever it is you need to decide, once you have the number of points invested in it, you still need to take time in-game to actually build the facility as well. This can be done at any time when at least one player is in the Ark. However, it can only be done once per session. And how does this work? Well, first the player will decide what it is they want to do. So if we were to take the example of the crop field, a player will possibly want to start sowing the fields and planting seeds. They would decide what skills and stats are required for this, and if they have a tool which will help, they would get extra dice to roll. They then take the required dice and roll them. Every success means that the total amount of work points needed to build the facility is reduced by 1. And then when those points are reduced to 0, the project is completed and begins affecting the Ark positively or negatively instantly. However, these projects aren't always safe. They can be destroyed through an attack or through NPCs within the Ark itself, and also by the players if they feel like it has outlived its use. This feature I do really like, and players have often agreed. We have always enjoyed watching the Ark grow from its very humble and struggling beginnings into something that felt more personal and designed by, well, their input and their efforts. which made it even more sweet when they reaped the rewards, but also hurt much more when it was destroyed in some fashion. And it was a very cool thing to experience. For the Spire, we put most of our points into warfare to defend ourselves, and then started working on a food supply once we had turtled up. The final step for creating the arc is to simply choose the season that your sessions begin in. As it is cold in Blackpool for most of the year, we've put ours in autumn. And as simple as that, the Spire is now complete, which means that the future videos in this series, we're going to start creating the residents of the Spire. However, for me, there is one thing left to do in this video, and that's to draw the Spire itself. So, that's going to be fun. Now, on the off chance that there are some Mutant Year Zero players out there who have played, let us know down below in the comments what your arc was like. Did they thrive? Did they die off? What did it look like? And even if you haven't played, what are your thoughts on it? What would you invest in? What would you make your arc? Where would you put it? Let us know down below because we love to hear from you. If you did enjoy this video, please like, comment, subscribe and all of that good stuff because it helps the channel grow, it helps it get out to other people who might also enjoy this, but also it keeps content free and coming to you. Thank you everyone for watching, much love to you all, and remember to keep on rolling.
The world is destroyed. How the world ended and how long ago will remain a mystery, but echoes of the old world still litter the landscape, their meanings also shrouded in mystery. All but one of the human race has been wiped out, and in their place are desperate and diseased remnants of life. The final human, now only known as the Elder, is the last living connection to the old world. But the Elder will one day pass away, and with them, their irreplaceable knowledge, leaving whatever intelligent life is left to grow independently. When the Elder passes, the mutants will be the closest thing to a human you will find. Every mutant is unique and capable of using distinct powers relative to their own evolution. Pyrokinesis, flight, telepathy, and extra limbs just to name a few. Whatever your imagination allows, you will find at least one mutant who can do it. Other inhabitants include the mutants of the Gen Lab Alpha and the robots of Mechatron, but those are stories for another time. In what was once Blackpool's Golden Mile, there is a community of settlers that live in and by a dark but sturdy tower. Dubbing their home the Spire, the settlers use it as an ark, and the zone, named the Old Mile, is resident to 3 other arks, each holding a monopoly on a resource. Unnecessary dependence on fragile alliances are the only factors stopping the arks from going to war, as the price of victory would be too great regardless of the winner. The Spire holds the monopoly on weapons, as they have the most stalkers in their arc. The job of a stalker is to go out into the zone and search for supplies and treasure to bring back to the arc, as well as provide for their population and trade with the other arcs. The zone, however, is a very dangerous place. A twisted parody of nature plagues the lands, and many monstrosities terrorize anyone or anything that oversteps their boundaries of safety. A phenomenon labeled the Rot acts as a cancer, soiling the land and life around it with deadly amounts of radiation, while the ghouls wander the lands eager to kill and destroy for their own gain. The Ark itself, despite its defenses, is also a victim of danger. While mutants are more capable than humans, they are also just as flawed. Cultures and societies will form, each with their own troubles. Gangs patrol the streets using manipulation and force to get what they desire. Biased and hateful individuals will influence others in groups, and cults will arise with ideals that will see themselves as superior from those who disagree. Of course, there are individuals on the opposite end of this spectrum, those who wish to keep the peace, form friendships, and better the standard of living for those in the Ark. The Elder, of course, encourages the positive behaviour and holds daily gatherings with his assigned advisors as well as stalkers to discuss how to improve the lives of those under his watch. In a world as hopeless as this, where do you find the will to carry on? It is a thing named Eden. A stalker team arrived back with evidence of a way to heal the world. Presenting it to the Elder, they were not able to discern much, but what they did find gave them hope. Who or what Eden is, they have no idea, but the document they found stated that should the world ever fall into an apocalyptic scenario, Project Eden would be the key to returning the world to its former glory. This was enough to encourage the people of the Spire to find Eden, so they may one day find a way to stop the threat of war between the neighbouring arcs and live in a world where every day isn't a gamble for survival.